whatever your politics are, whatever you have a slant towards, left or right, whether you're a centrist or whatever, I believe that we can all agree that our system is deeply flawed at a fundamental level. From birth, we are primed for a life of debt. School itself peddles more school, which then, of course, brings in more debt, most of which we will never be able to escape if we decide to take on this debt. And all of this is done with the promise of the unobtainable. That is, some sort of retirement eventually, some sort of respite from this lifelong wage slavery. To be completely and totally honest with you, I'm incredibly disillusioned by this system. I have been for a very long time, and it reminds me a little bit, just like I said, how school peddles more school and debt involving that school. It reminds me of whenever I was in middle school. I remember this happening whenever I was in middle school. I was in an art class, of all places. Now, you know that art classes aren't anything serious. You don't really care about the grade you're getting in an art class. So, naturally, they decided that they were going to use this class period as just fill out paperwork sort of thing. So they had the guidance counselor in there talking with a couple of the teachers that we all trusted, and they would come up to us and say, all right, this is a piece of paper. We need you to write down what college you'd like to go to. Now, me specifically, I was never one who wanted to go to college. You know, I never wanted to go to college at all in any capacity. I've always thought that the idea of wanting more education, so to speak, after you were out of high school was dumb because I never wanted to be in school in the first place. And believe it or not, it wasn't because I had specifically creative endeavors. Sure, I enjoyed creating things on the side, or at least trying to, or thinking about doing just that. I actually wanted to be a general laborer to a degree. I would always tell myself, and I would tell everybody else, that whenever I got out of high school, I wanted to dig ditches until I was in them. And just gonna tell you, that did happen eventually, but that's an entirely different story. They did not want to accept that because purely for the sake of simplicity, I'll let you know, it is not profitable for them. You see, the school experience nowadays is just them telling you over and over again that you have to go into debt and get a college degree, a little slip of paper that says you're certified or qualified so that you can, like, have food to put on the table. This cannot be farther from the truth. I won't go into this. You all, I am certain, already know this. I'm certain that maybe at some point in the future, someone might come across this video and be in the position where they know this firsthand, you know, having gone to college and then had the issue of thousands upon thousands of dollars in college debt. Student loans does not matter. And they found themselves effectively buried under it because you can't pay that off in like a couple of years with a minimum wage job that you're probably going to have. Basically put, whenever they gave me this slip of paper that said put down whatever college you want to go to, they would not accept the answer that I did not want to go to college. They said, okay, fine. Just write down any college that you can think of. I said, okay. There is a college about a couple of hours away from here, maybe an hour, hour and a half hereabouts. And that was the college that my mom went to for a brief period around the time that this story was taking place. She went back to college after several years and got her degree. So what happens is I put that down, and these people, these shady, sleazy people, these so-called educators, they took the piece of paper, they picked it up, they looked at it, and they said, really? You want to go to that college? As if 15 seconds prior I had not been telling them that I did not want to go to college at all and I wasn't planning on it. You see, that's the thing. They had to have that piece of paper on file to say that this is what these kids are working towards the goal of. There was no option to enter a trade that early. There were no talks of entering a vocational school program whenever we were in middle school. Of course, that did come later, but it was not as widely advertised. And if you were getting into a vocational school program, well, it was generally accepted that you were of a rowdier bunch than these people. Or if you were like me, and you went into the IT program, well, it was just generally accepted that you were autistic and not diagnosed. That's an entirely different story, though. I won't talk your ear off with that one. What I'm trying to say here, though, is that, of course, school peddles school, and with that comes debt. And whenever you get out of school, whenever you have all those thousands upon thousands of dollars of debt, I believe a lot of people very quickly notice that they don't really have anything to show for it. You have no, like, physical property that you can call your own. You're still having to pay rent, and I'm just telling you, if the landlord doesn't take your whole paycheck, than the tax man is going to, paying your electricity, your water bill, and then everything after that. We're sort of in an age where you have to have the internet to some degree as like a form of communication with the outside world. Or at least that's what I would like to say, If you want to actually, like, expand anything, if you want to have creative endeavors, if you want to talk with people who don't make you want to, like, paint the wall with your frontal cortex, the internet is somewhat of a necessity in the modern age. Who knows, maybe I'm just terminally online. I'm getting off topic. Even at that, whenever you find out that you've got no real property or anything like that, you decide, well, I'm going to save up a little bit here and there, just over a very long period of time, 10 years, who knows. Try to buy myself some land. Well, you run into a couple of issues. One of those issues is that all the land is being bought up by large corporations who are backed by the Fed. And what that effectively means is that they have an endless supply of your money, and they aren't going to give it up anytime soon. And then the second issue is that even if you do end up saving up thousands upon thousands of dollars to get yourself a good chunk of land, well, you're going to have to pay taxes on that, and also there's the fact that your money is not going to be worth a damn in the face of hyperinflation, which I believe we are very, very quickly approaching. So I ask you this, if you are not allowed to live a life without debt, basically, if you are tricked and conned into accepting thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt for something that's not going to give you anything, if you cannot find a way of checking out of the system in a way that is meaningful, in a way that does not constitute you having to come back into the system and interact with it to a degree over and over again over a long period of time, your entire life, why contribute to it at all in total? Why would you contribute to a society that you get nothing from in return? Why would you contribute to something that is this parasitic towards you and your entire life? A long time ago, I used to think that the whole world would be just so much better if everyone just did their own fair share, if you understand my meaning. I had a bit of a unnecessary hatred, I would say, towards people that I would refer to as welfare leeches or something similar. People who enjoyed taking handouts from the government and never really did anything with their life. They just sat on their couch and watched TV all day. That was a long time ago, though. And I'm starting to believe maybe that they were the ones with the right idea. I'm starting to believe that maybe these people are modern day heroes, so to speak. I'm starting to think that these people are sort of like their own little personal Robin Hoods. They're taking money from one of the most corrupt institutions that the world has ever known. That institution, of course, being the United States federal government. It doesn't matter whose money is getting paid into it. They're still getting it from the government. And they aren't doing anything. They aren't giving back to society. They are effectively stealing from this institution. And wouldn't you know it, I just think that's cool and based. Maybe it's the mentality that I'm in right now. Maybe what separates me from a couple of years ago and me now is the fact that a couple of years ago I had not experienced how hard it is to check out of society. Something that has quite literally been a dream of mine for several years, as long back as I can remember. I remember being a child and dreaming about having my own little corner of the earth, my own little chunk of land that I could just put a trailer or some sort of bunker on and just sit there and not have to deal with anybody. Grow myself some potatoes and buckets, filter my own water, dig a well, who knows. Maybe carve out a little pond, something like that, stock it with fish, and just enjoy the wildlife, enjoy the greenery, enjoy the greener grass that I had found for myself, but it's looking less and less like that is going to be an achievable thing for me specifically, at least for me in the current time period, who knows. I might get lucky 30, 40, 50 years down the line, but at that point, what really is the point in it? I apologize if I'm coming off as nihilistic. This is just something that I've thought on a little too long, probably. Whether or not I am going to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor, though, I feel spurred on by the need to ensure that someone will. And I do have 5 nephews, and I love them to death. And really, that's where my amassed treasures of this world are probably going to go. I do not trust the US dollar in the slightest. I am banking my money in cryptocurrency, and I've been looking into land for a long time. I don't know how much of it I could get, but it is definitely something to look into. I would suggest that you think about the way things are going. I would suggest that you look at the situation we find ourselves in and are probably going to find ourselves in the near future and plan accordingly. No financial advice can be given here. I'm not a financial advisor. All this being said, my heart goes out to the wage slaves out there who find themselves stuck in a minimum wage job, having to deal with humanity at large, understanding more and more that it's looking less and less like there's a way out of it. Because I've been there several times in my young life, and it's not been fun any of the times I've been there. This video is a little more depressive than the rest of the videos. It's just sometimes I think about these things, and sometimes they just start tearing a hole in my head. Check me out on Twitter if you want, twitter.com/Hale_Keezer. Why not subscribe? Why not like? Who knows? Who really cares? It's your option, your choice. I've been Keezer. I've never been good at outros. I'll see you next time.